Good morning, everybody. We're starting chapter 27 of the book of Acts, the next to the last chapter. And Paul is finally getting his wish. He's going to Rome. Now, he had wanted to go to Rome for a very, very, very long time, but his journey to Rome actually started by him going to Jerusalem, the opposite direction. And he was convinced that God was calling him to go to Jerusalem at first. And many people, many friends had persuaded him, don't go to Jerusalem because you're just going to be arrested. So here are some of the high points of this whole progression of throughout his journey. Paul arrives in Jerusalem and he meets with James and the leaders of the early church, and they could not have been more excited that Gentiles were coming to faith and Jews were coming to faith too. But the Jewish High Council, the highest ruling body in the Jewish faith, was not happy with Paul at all, how he fraternized with the Gentiles. And so what do? They invent false accusations against Paul. And they invented them, and then they persuaded the Roman governors to arrest Paul, to get him off the streets, mainly because the High Council was so persistent, and the Roman governors did not want any sort of a riot or any uprising among the people. So, however, the Romans soon realized that Paul's had never committed a crime. In fact, that his squabble was religious in nature, and it was with the Jewish High Council. And so along the way, Paul, though, gets this chance to tell his story and to tell about the resurrected Christ, both to the Jewish High Council as well as to two Roman governors. In addition, they also discovered that Paul is a Roman citizen. And so his citizenship meant that he had protection from any sort of physical punishment, like 39 lashes or anything like that. And though they knew he was innocent, the Roman governors did not have the courage to release him. So, because of that, Paul appealed his case to Caesar. And so he gets the Roman government to pay for his trip to Rome. So that's where we begin in chapter 27. This voyage starts, and Luke describes for us the details of this very interesting voyage across the Mediterranean Sea to Rome. It was a grueling journey, and there was a big storm and a shipwreck, and I want to encourage you to use this map that we're providing you to follow along with Luke's description of what took place. But once again, we see that the Holy Spirit was in charge. The Holy Spirit is leading and protecting Paul as he makes his way to Rome. He's already allowed him to tell the story of the resurrected Jesus to many people. And God has this plan and his plan is not going to be accomplished easily. God sends an angel along the way to make sure that Paul does not become discouraged, even though they're going to go through a shipwreck and be stranded on an island. Let me read for you how Paul tells the story of what the angel told him from verses 22 to 26 of Acts chapter 27. He says, "Take courage. None of you will lose your lives, even though the ship will go down. For last night an angel of the God to whom I belong and whom I serve stood beside me. And he said, 'Don't be afraid, Paul, for you will surely stand trial before Caesar. What's more, God in his goodness has granted safety to everyone sailing with you. So take courage, for I believe God, and it will be just as he said, but we will be shipwrecked on an island.'" Wow, what a story. You got to read this whole thing, read the details. God has this plan for Paul, and God has a plan for our lives too. And sometimes he leads us through difficult circumstances like this, but sometimes they're favorable and sometimes they're difficult. And yet we know that he is guiding and directing when we put our trust in him, and he wants the best for each of us. He's good all the time, as we say. And so he calls us to trust him completely. You know, there's a passage from the Old Testament that I remember often. I've actually committed it to memory, and I encourage you to do the same to it too. It's Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6, and it reminds me often of God's faithfulness, even in the middle of difficult times. Maybe you've heard this before. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not rely on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths." Now, maybe you sense, I pray that maybe you will sense the leading of the Holy Spirit in your life too. And that I pray that you are confident in knowing that you can trust him every single day. And he's there to direct you on your path, on your journey, no matter where it's going. Have an amazing day.
If these devotional videos are helpful to you, subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so you know when we post a new video. And of course, please share them with others.